While we are finding it very, very difficult in our stride to tackle wave two, and the vaccination process is moving at a snail's pace, we are now also at this important juncture to look at the wave three and secure the young citizens of our country, the young people of our country, from the age group of 2 to the age group of 18 years. Now, these people cannot, these children cannot be vaccinated with the same vials of Covishield and the BioBharatech vaccine because they do not have the same disposition as a fully mature adult would have. The other big concern with regards to how the young parents of these children need to also be kept in the bigger picture, the bigger frame, because they are the ones who are going to be taking their children to the hospitals and to the healthcare centers to get them vaccinated, as and when the regulatory authority goes ahead and gives an emergency nod and then the regular nod for all these vaccinators to start vaccinating this age group. It's a greater, bigger debate to have, and let's have my good doctors present on the broadcast with me. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai joining me on the broadcast. And my first question to you, sir, with regards to children who are not miniature adults, and therefore there needs to be some tinkering that needs to be done with terms of the vaccine. Now, the Bharat Biotech has been given the nod by the DGCI for the second and third clinical trials that are to be undertaken. My point being, this is the right time to zero in on the young parents, because they are the ones who are going to be directly affecting the children, and they are the ones who are going to be bringing them to the healthcare centers, to the hospitals, to the clinics to get their children vaccinated. So this is all interconnected.
Yes, indeed. If you look at just the demographics, 35% of the Indian population is pediatric below the age of 18. Last year, we only had about 8 to 9% of the total COVID load as being below the age of 18 all over the world in terms of being COVID positive. But this year, the CDC data of day before yesterday is 22% of global load is actually in pediatrics. So it's markedly increased. Also, there are certain counties in US and Canada which have shown in clusters, especially educational clusters, that the pediatric population getting infected is as much as up to 73%. We know that the children carry the same viral load as adults, but in closely ventilated places like classrooms or in educational institutes, they can transmit it 17 times more than adults. So children are actually like mini reserves. They are like silent super spreaders. And we know also now that 2% of the population, if it's infected, can infect as silent spreaders 98% of the rest. So pediatric being covered under the immunization for COVID is extremely important, because at some stage these children have to go back to the schools and colleges and sports arenas. We know that these are so far being unprotected because they've not got the vaccine. So the clinical trials now being started is a welcome move. The mRNA vaccines in US have already been licensed 2 days back for the age group of 12 to 18. And now the Bharat Biotech coming in from 2 years to 18 years is a great initiative. The last clinical trial, which is undergoing at the present moment in US, is from the age group of 6 months up to 12 years, and they've enrolled 6,750 children. They've shown excellent results. Only 0.1% had minor effects, and they were kept under observation. No serious side effects, no otherwise hospitalizations, no death. So the immunogenicity of children is extremely good to these vaccines. They have a lot of naive T cells as a T cell arm of the immunity to show that they will have a very good, robust immune response. I'm quite hopeful that these trials in India would be completed in the next, say, 2.5 or 3 months. So maybe by around September, plus minus few days, we would have them in the Indian scenario.
Okay. Dr. Mohsin Wali also joins me on the podcast, and it's great to have you again, Doctor. Vaccinate the young parents. Now, that is the theme of this particular discussion that we are going ahead and holding. Keeping in mind that the first wave, the virus was not as fastly mutating as it is now. The second wave is much, much faster. And fingers crossed, when the wave 3 hits, it is all likelihood that this virus is going to further mutate and multiply on a faster rate and reach to the most vulnerable population. which is now from the age of 0 until the age of 18, because they are the ones who are not vaccinated at all. What are the precautions and the corrective measures that can be taken by the doctors, by the healthcare community, as well as the young parents, keeping in mind the safeguarding of the children?
Thank you. I would say that more attention to pediatric departments, more attention to pediatric wings of the hospitals, more attention to augment the services in these pediatric departments, including gynecology departments, so that they can be kept between the pediatric ICUs and the nurseries. See, any time one can have a disaster in the third wave, and then parents have to be taken care of separately, and the young newborn has to be taken care separately. So this is what we mean by planning of the third wave. Secondly, we have to increase the number of pediatric ICU beds. I am repeatedly telling, and Dr. Bagai would agree with me, our facilities in the pediatric hospitals, both government and private, are very infinitesimal, very small, and God forbid if they get infected, which is also very difficult to identify in the first go, it will be a total loss of a great number of children. So I pray God that this should not happen. But apart from that, I am adding one point today, that nurseries should also be developed. When there was, before independence era, British period, every government office would have a nursery, so that the children, very small children, can be looked after there. So that has, these are two more important things. And you see, it is possible to have pediatric beds in more in number, in less of the space. That's a great thing. And to train more pediatric doctors, because the life of a child is very delicate. We can't handle the life of a small child comparing the way we handle adults in the hospital. So they have to be round the clock monitored with a trained staff, trained nurses, which are separate. And you see, pediatric care is a big subject, and it's a very important subject, which probably we have not given much importance in the past. So my heart goes to that. And as far as vaccination is concerned, there is a huge shortage of vaccines. Today they have an announcement of a spacing of Covishield. Just now Sputnik is announced, will be available commercially in the market freely. Just now announced that Sputnik would be available after the August, but that's too late. So we have to be very careful. And in the meantime, there is another factor, that children are being loved. So whosoever comes home would try to mix with children, to take them in the lap and to embrace them and to kiss them. So all these things, people have to be very careful. Extreme care to save this part of population.
Dr. Sujit, I like to put in this point yet again in the forefront. Vaccinate the young parents, because and how can, and while the 18 to 45 age group is being vaccinated, although at a very tardy pace, keeping in mind we don't even have the vaccines. There need to be some national vaccine policy changes that need to be made. Adaptation to the one-dose model that needs to be followed through. More mass vaccination needs to be taking place within the country, as well as a number of vaccine players need to be increased, both international as well as domestic. So amongst all these challenges the country is facing at this point of time, is there a way that the CoWIN app can detect these young parents with children under the age group of, I don't know, if you're going ahead and vaccinating, first of all, those who are under the age group of 15 to 18, and then you will go ahead and target the age group of 10 to 15, and then you're going to target somebody at the age group of 5 to 10, and then so on and so forth. The younger the child becomes, the more sensitized you have to be in terms of your vaccine procurement and production and development. How can this entire process be strategized to cherry pick, first of all, the parents, and then obviously comes the turn of the children?
Yeah. See, I think that CoWIN app should have something like a comorbidity check. If a young parent is having diabetes or hypertension or any other ailment, he needs to make a mention about it. And people who are having comorbidity should be given the first priority. when coming to vaccination.
You're talking about the young parents with
Yes, young parents with comorbidity should be considered first.
Okay, all right. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, you'd want to elaborate on that?
Comorbidities overall in all age groups is extremely important. We know that the two most critical independent factors, rather three most independent critical factors for enhancing the overall morbidity and mortality in COVID are as follows. First one being obesity, which unfortunately the first time around the COVID didn't consider that as a comorbidity at all. It increases the mortality by 108%. Second being independent factor being hypertension, and third independent factor being diabetes. What really these three things do is they reconstruct the body cells into what we call as inflammation and infection together, called as inflammasomes. And these precipitate further cascade of the interleukin markers, the cytogenic storm, and all other biomarkers which we normally see, which create the lung disease and other body organs. So comorbidities are extremely important.
But my question being over here that, when say a mother who's a 36-year-old has to take her 2-month-old child to, God forbid, a COVID ICU or pediatric segment of a particular hospital, and if she herself is not vaccinated, what chance does she have of saving her child?
Absolutely. So that's the reason of the 18 to 45. And therefore, it's a question of simple arithmetics between the total production versus the total number of vaccines which are required. There is a readout today from the Health Department of Government of India saying that by end of this year, we should have adequate amount of flow. But it's maybe a couple of months late though. But the sooner we get it, more lives we will save. There is also a very interesting study which is from British Medical Journal, which has come out yesterday. Depending upon the Covishield, just focusing on Covishield as an index vector-based vaccine, that if you continue at the same rate and if you give only one shot, we will save on a daily basis 27 to 45 lives every day per 1 lakh population. So every day we delay the vaccination program into adults. It's a simple mathematics. Even if you take a ballpark figure of 40 per 1 lakh every day, that many number of lives are at risk.
Okay. Dr. Mohsin Wali, those additional figures which also requires our immediate attention, allowing for the vaccination drive to be spearheaded by production and development of the vaccine. I'll pose the same question to you. At this point of time, do we have any sort of an algorithm or a software that can be inculcated into the CoWIN app, keeping in mind the wave 3, and when the young children of our country, the population below the age of 18 starts getting vaccinated? First of all, the one vaccine that is undergoing trials, which is the Bharat Biotech vaccine, is not going to be sufficient to cater to the 35% of the population of the country, that is the young children of our country under the age of 18 years. Is there a process wherein we can also zero in on young parents who have children under the age of maybe 15 or under the age of 10 or under the age of 5, and they should be inoculated on priority because the next wave is coming from them?
Exactly. We are going to focus on them, but very importantly, which you have been pointing out, and the complete answer to your queries of this program is we have big number, 300 million young parents to be smartly vaccinated in coming few months. Very early in a shorter time, make a strategy for that. For them, sufficient quantity of vaccine should be available. As you said, Covaxin. The company production mood is not that fast. Although he came on media and told that I'm ready to produce, I'm ready to give my 6-year-old grandson or granddaughter, I think granddaughter. So this is all we are talking. It's all in the air. But if you go to the practically to the field, the ground level, the things are moving very slowly. And people are now getting disheartened when they go with a great enthusiasm to the vaccination center. They are told, please come tomorrow or day after. This is a new thing happening for last 2 days, 3 days. So this is what it shows, that we have to really boost the vaccine production, buy, borrow, steal, get from the developing countries on the loan basis, and also have adequate doses delivered to such centers, and at the same time care for the villages. This is an important challenge adding up. For last 2-3 days we are seeing a lot of bad condition in the villages. A lot of people are dying in the great numbers without being diagnosed, without being treated. So children are also there in the villages. How will they approach to these apps and everything? So we have to really send volunteers to get the data and to make a note of every single pediatric population, children and the ages you mentioned, and make them vaccine available. This is going to be a bigger challenge. In the cities, you see, things are simple, relatively simple, not simple. But what is going to be referring to the third wave and referring to the abhi to second wave chal raha hai. So isme we have to be very sober and serious. First thing which I am repeatedly telling for last 2 days is to have adequate stock of vaccines. Second thing, adequate staff of manpower. You may draw some people from somewhere and put them on the vaccine duty. Already there is good number. And third is to let the village population know that they are equally important and they need vaccination. You know, this is a big thing. Big thing, big challenge, you see. And you see where in the villages there is no even test done, and they are not isolating people, and people are dying in great number, as I just said. So this is a big challenge. Then talking superficially about the urban India, you see, my India lives in villages, and this is very important. You see, you have to join the heads, and vaccine policy also join together. These people are creating chodrahat. You see, you should not produce this kind of things in public. It should not come in public domain if there is any controversy at the higher level. You see, public is not concerned with what you are talking. Public is concerned that what you are delivering. Deliver the vaccine.
Deliver the vaccine. That's
Yes.
the third way here. Dr. Sujit, I'll come to you again. We're talking about the third wave. We're not even ready to curtail the second one. We are struggling. The wave has hit the southern part of the states, including Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Vaccination, like I said, is something that's a foregone conclusion, that you need to have it to ensure that the cases do not multiply. The only other way of stopping the multiplication and the mutation of the virus is going to be to ensure lockdowns, curfews, restrictions, and the SOPs that need to be put in place. How long can we keep our children inside the homes? And even if they are sitting inside the homes, will it be a guaranteed conclusion that they would not be infected by the adults some way or the other? Or have those cases also not started to trickle in already?
See, children are somehow protected from the beginning, and we've been seeing in the first wave, the mortality rate in children was very less. In the second wave, there is a very slight increase in the mortality rate in children, but then children are somehow well protected. So I think they have that immunity to overcome. The problem is these children are spreading it to the younger adults, younger parents. Now, younger parents are the one who are really suffering from both the ends. You know, children, they have to care for their children and they will have to care for their parents also. So they're not able to attend to their parents considering the care about children. So I think we will have to.
Very important point that you make over here, that while it is the lot above the age of 55 or 65, that's the most vulnerable at this point of time. They have been vaccinated, they are the priority. Keeping in mind the children are robust when it comes to fighting the disease, but they are the potential super spreaders as well. In the middle stand the parents, the age group of, say, 30, 35 to about 40, 45. This is the age group that is going to have to be the pillars when it comes to handling both the extreme age groups. And Dr. Bagai, I like to again reiterate that point. So then if this, between the age group of 30 to 45 are the ones who are actually becoming the pillars over there and ensuring or fortifying the health and economic safety of the younger lot as well as the senior lot. So shouldn't the government now create some mechanism to ensure that this lot particularly is given the priority?
Yeah, so I think this is a very important point you raised, and very often this is not discussed, that children cannot be dealt with in isolation. So you're dealing with a child which is a center focus point of an entire family chondrome. So when you're looking at a child being immunized, unless until the parents, whatever be the age of the parents, with or without comorbidities, if they are not immunized, that will create a big issue, a huge issue. Like we've said, children can transmit the infection. They are getting more and more amount of infection themselves. And sometimes they end up with something which is called as multi-inflammatory syndrome of children, or a polyorgan disease. So we need to be careful with regards dealing with the children immunization. We take a child as a family as a whole. Therefore, it still boils down to a sheer number arithmetic game. We need more vaccines. We need it now. We need it ASAP. We need it of whichever platform. It doesn't matter whether it's platform A, B, or C. I believe Sputnik is now going to be available from early part of next week. So that will give us a little bit of elbow room and free our arm to get more number of vaccines. But children are important, but with the parents. Also, pregnancy needs to be focused upon because there's a huge number. We are producing 28 million newborns every year. That means 28 million pregnancies every year. So we need to look at the pregnant ladies. We also need to look at the lactating ladies. That's been cleared. So we need to look at the whole entirety in a more holistic manner. But again, we need more vaccines of every platform as soon as possible.
Right, absolutely. Dr. Mohsin Wali, there's a scary thought that has been expressed by Dr. Sanjeev Bagai that, while you can have your parents and grandparents kept in isolation and things can still be figured out, how do you tackle a 2-month-old or a 3-year-old who will require constant attention? And if you yourself are suffering from the virus, you cannot attend to your child. And in a similar fashion, if the child is suffering from the virus, he has to be kept isolated from the parent under the hope that the virus does not get mutated further.
It's a very important issue, we can't neglect it. Children's ICU are a very protected place there. They can't be left alone, especially cardiac operations when they are done. I have seen Dr. Devi Shetty's ICU in a line. You have 60 children beds, pediatric beds, and everybody is composed, sleeping. And the moment they wake up and they are recovered from the surgery, they are shifted to the normal rooms or normal wards. While with this virus infection, this does not happen. Why it does not happen? Because such children cannot wear mask. Oxygen mask has to be put, which is the lifeline, and the parents have to be around. The parents have to be vaccinated. This is a big point. And if you see, hardly after 300 million, hardly what I think is 10 million or a little more would have been vaccinated by now, both parents. So it is very difficult for a pediatric ICU to maintain the infection-free area unless both the parents are vaccinated, they are immunized, and they have to be, one of them at least have to be with the child and supervising the child. A nurse cannot see around the clock whether the child is wearing mask or the child is in comfortable position. So this is a very big issue, and probably we have not been talking about it throughout. So Dr. Bagai is very right in saying this. He is a pediatrician, and what I feel first bring me vaccine. What I say, bring me vaccine. Where is the vaccine? We have been discussing on your channel last time, and I was convinced that we have enough vaccines and there is logistic issue. But today I find I was absurd, wrong, totally wrong. There is no vaccine. There is a vaccine shortage, and I'm telling it boldly because we have to arrange vaccines for the younger generation. We should arrange the vaccine, buy, borrow, or steal. And one solution to the vaccine arrangement is that go to the bigger countries who have surplus vaccine, double their requirement. Please make an agreement with them, give it on loan to us, and we will replenish you. This is the only solution because production cannot go so fast. We have to be very smart in vaccinating this big population. If not 300 million, 200 million or 100 million at least, so that something moves. You see, and the important half of this, what we are discussing, is go in the villages and see what is the condition of children. I saw a child floating over the dead bodies which came to the Bihar floating from UP. It's very serious issue. Today's episode is pointing about serious deficiencies, serious lack of willpower and concentration on this issue. And this is very important, I think more important than procuring oxygen or procuring adult beds or procuring anything else. Children's issue has to be given top priority, top priority.
I'm just hoping and praying the way we have been caught unawares in wave 2, what we have caught unawares with regards to the procurement of oxygen supply, with the procurement of the ICU beds. We should not be sitting smug and thinking that situation will find itself in a better position by itself, because if the government machinery, the state as well as central, will have to put its heads together to bring about a mechanism. And Dr. Sujit, coming over here, we were obviously in extreme turmoil in fighting out the wave 2. We continue to be. The surge is still not ended. We are short of vaccines, and the mere thought of imagining that our kids are likely to become contagious in the next few months is scary, keeping in mind we do not have the resources at all. Is this the right time for the government to be proactive now at the state and the central level to ensure that there's proper management and coordination when it comes to the pediatric care?
Yes, I agree. This is the correct time to plan for a third wave in case there is going to be one. And we know that we are short of pediatric ICU beds. We need to make a plan.
Okay, all right. It has been great to have all my 3 good doctors on the broadcast talking about the vaccination process for the children, and more importantly, for their young parents, because they are the ones who have to be squarely responsible for the well-being of their kids as well as of their parents, that are the older generation, falling under the age group of 55 and above or 65 and above. We'll look at it in greater detail. On NewsX, also come out with a charter, with a plan and actionables that we would go ahead and suggest to the central government and the state administrations as well, so that can be a practical solution that can be found out and then implemented from the top level to the